Hello, everyone, and welcome to the stream. This is Otaku Showboat. Today is Tuesday, January 28th, 2020. If you're watching the VOD on YouTube, don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and if you are so inclined, head on over to twitch.tv/otakushowboat to leave a follow to be notified when I go live Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays from 10 a.m. to approximately 1 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. You can do all of the social stuff and the links in the description below. So, today. Today is a little bit confusing at the start, just because I've been very busy. I've been busy. I don't even know if the game will load without crashing today. So let's start loading up the game. So a couple of things have just immediately happened. One is that I got updated copies of Alien Life with Alien Life graphics. That works fine. That I've done, and it's working. Factorio has also, as of like now, updated to 18.2, but that actually is causing an issue right now. So I updated it. I updated to 18.2. It caused an error with Pi Tech, something about uh robot sound stuff, I think, defines in it. Something strange. It errored in 18.2, so I've just now reverted back to 18.1. Boy. Yeah, don't tell me about this. Ask me later. In fact, don't ever ask me again, Mr. Experimental Update, which the experimental update, by the way, also didn't work. If I tell it to try and update to 18.2, do experimental update, it's not going to. By the way, we're on version 18.1. Just, casually. By the way, we're on version 18.1 now. So last stream, they updated robot sounds. Yeah, that they did. So Pi High Tech is now crashing because of that. I think they may have changed the names of the sounds, so the files that High Tech is referencing no longer exist and need to be changed. So, yeah, that's like an immediate thing as of just now. As of just now, with 18.2 being just released. When was it? I'll I'll tell you when 18. Yeah, it just dropped like half an hour ago, if that. It was just posted on the PyMods discussion. Like, this update hasn't even been has it been pushed? Yeah, it has been pushed on the Factorio announcements as of 42 past the hour. So like, yeah, 20 minutes ago ish. About 20 minutes ago on that. Yes, thank you, Factorio, for breaking working things. But 18.2, they fixed the issue with the loaders. Migrating loaders from version 17 to 18. It's a little late for that, but they've fixed the loaders now, that issue. And then introduced more issues. So we're on version 18. This required a fair bit of work. A few of the mods that I'm using right now aren't technically updated to 18 yet, but only required just updating the little version number. But the vast majority have been. I'm no longer using the mod for the ore deleter. What was the loader issue? So the loader issue, if I just click on Deadlock's compact loaders here, the issue is that the 1x1 loaders need to be specifically defined as 1x1 loaders. So that changed. There's now an entity of loader dash 1x1, 1x1. And all loaders that are 1x1 need to be defined as this new 1x1 loader. The issue is that when you load a save from V17 into V18 with the new 1x1 defined loaders, all of the snapping of the belts and like some belt segments are a little glitched and reset. So you have to go around and replace every single one of your output loaders at the very least. Or was it the input loaders? It's the input loaders at the very least. You would need to completely replace. Just pick up and place back down again. Some little segments of belt need to be replaced as well, but other than that, once you do that, everything is fine if you've updated the mod to define the loader entities as being 1x1 entities, which that's easy enough to do. I did that with my copy of Deadlocks. That's been done with mini loaders. It just happened to be that just in that migration 17 to 18, you would have to replace all of your loaders. And apparently now with 18.2, that issue is fixed. But as I said, it comes a little bit too late for my save after having already gone through and done all of that. As for other mods, Alien Biomes is officially fully updated for version 18. However, when I did the transition, it was before it was fully ported to 18. So we don't have any trees in our visible area. At least none of the Arendelle Alien Biomes trees are in our area that was revealed. But the trees will start appearing again in newly explored areas of the map. So there is that. Arendelle put a lot of work in, apparently 17 hours ish, to update Alien Biomes, because every single tree needed a reflection file defined for it. So our trees have water reflections on a map that we're playing that doesn't have any water outside of the starting area. Yay! It's glorious. Absolutely glorious. We'll never actually be able to see those reflections on this map. I have updated Pybora reversion and posted that. Oh gosh, answering machine. Why? Beep 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 beep. That's what I got. By the way, I just got a bunch of beeping of a disconnected call on the answering machine. So yeah, who still owns an answering machine? Well, we own a phone, a landline phone that has a built-in answering machine. So that's what we have. It's hooked up to a magic jack. So, because this house doesn't have a landline telephone connection in the entirety of this house, um, which was a little awkward. We've always had a landline phone, just because it's always a good idea to have a landline phone. The whole point of it, though, is that landline phones work when there's a power outage, and we don't actually have the true landline now, so it doesn't actually work in a power outage. So why do we have it in the first place? Eh. It's a number that's tied to the physical address, which is another part of the whole point. So that's why some stuff still want, like some services, they still want a quote home phone that is tied to a physical address, so that helps with some very specific things occasionally. It's decent to have, at least. But anyway, the phone is next to me, so whenever it does go off, I have the ringer on silent, but when the answering machine goes off, you definitely hear that. Anyway, Pybora reversion I have updated to 18. I just changed the version, Factorio version on it. Same with productive Pyanodons. This one I released a version for 17 and 18 just because there was one additional thing that I added productivity to. It was the what was it? The nano electrical mechanical systems, I think. It was something that I added, and I figured, you know what, let's have this one thing that's added to 17 that I just never got pushed, and then this is also now pushed. Why are graphics now in separate mods? Because every time there is an update to the code, you no longer have to download all of the graphics with it. That is the point of separating out the graphics. Because if there's an update to the code and not the graphics, you can now, which more often than not, the update will be to the code rather than to the graphics. So now you just have to download the code, which is a much smaller file than the graphics. So it saves on data usage and it's faster updates. So that would be why. That would be why. What else do I need to note going into 18? Not much. As I said, the vast majority of the mods have now been updated. Well, the mods that I'm using here have been updated to V18. So let's actually load our game with the new menu here. By the way, that's like one of the bigger things in V18. One of the bigger things. I did a lot, by the way. Also, graphics look different now. The game graphics have changed. Apparently, content got migrated. It's now Venom Gland. For reference, it is now actually Venom Gland, so not too worried about this. Vrauks have changed completely. Well, not like true completely, but they have changed, so this is there is a point for all those removals. So, formic acid has changed as of today, this morning. We now have another way to get formic acid, so thank you, Pyandon, so very much. We now have the ability in the early game to full render Vrauks, which is the first creature. That's what we did last time, was we made Vrauk, specifically for cocoons, but now we have a purpose in that we can slaughter them for formic acid, and it is an amazing idea, yes, because it gives a purpose. It gives you that reason to actually make the slaughterhouse for the first creature that you create. So now you can have a use to the slaughterhouse before Auogs, even. So as early as you can use the slaughterhouse, you now have a use for it. Which is good. Which is good. That is good things. That is good things. So I did a lot off screen, and we will be talking about that as we go along, but I want to start with a suggestion. Collectors. Bioreserves. Bioreserves should have a mining time penalty of at least 500%. The reason for this is the amount of bio samples, like the cost of the collectors to feed biosamples, and the demand on biosamples is low enough that 1 per second per collector is expensive, and also a lot compared to how much you use. So this like setup here, I could get away with just having one at this phase of the game, just one collector on this entire patch, right? So it would make sense to slow these things down somehow. Just slow them down, because then you have to spend more resources for modules. Once you do get modules, you can have a reason to have more collectors on the patch, and B, have to use more modules to get more out of these patches. So that suggestion 1 is actually to nerf biocollectors, to nerf the bioreserves and collectors. It's surprising, but yes, I actually do think that something needs to be nerfed, and the collection speed there is what I think needs to be nerfed. This will come at the caveat of my next suggestion, which is to buff glassware. So glassware. They're called flasks on the recipe. Why is it 2 stoppers to 1? Why do I need 2 stoppers to make 1 glass thingy? And this ratio 10 to 1 is obscene. This was fine prior when it was just used for the automation science packs for red science. It was okay. But now we have a lot, and I'm not kidding. This is a lot of stuff that glassware is used for now, which means that the actual demand on glass is gigantic. Yeah, invest in your glass production. But thing is, this now means that glass is, like, its demand is more than quintupled, actually, I would say. I've now done an extra line of quartz, and this is not enough. I will have to transition to the coal gas powdered quartz method, which will mean that I will have to do some compression on glass, because that will end up being a lot more than 15. It will be over 15, I think. But yeah, it's just the amount of glass that you use, even in the early game, at this phase of the early game, it's huge, especially considering that you need it for both science, and you use the science to make like codices as well, or these DNA sample thingies, whatever they're actually called. These things, these DNA samples, these are actively using science, red science, as well. So yeah, the demand on the glassware is high, which means that the demand on glass is even higher. So that's why I say either have that recipe or double its output. So that's the suggestion there. Some way of slowing down collectors on bioreserves, and B, somehow either improving the output or reducing the input on the glassware. Yeah, 1 stopper, 5 glass per vial. Still has a lot of glass. What did you miss thus far? Hello, you missed nothing. Basically, just me talking a bit about we've transitioned to V18, and that comes with some changes, like all of the trees in my revealed area are gone, except for what little bit I revealed new down here. Just, stuff, things. It's V18, so now I can do things with graphics, like change the saturation. I have reduced brightness, contrast, and saturation because, in my honest opinion, it's way too bright. The new graphics default settings are way too bright. Yeah, consider the slowing down the collector's done. Yes, I figured that much would actually happen. So, remember what I said about not doing new things off screen? Well, in this case, to help progression, there are some things that I have done off screen that I have not turned on until after discussion with you about what I've done. Oh yes, alternative recipes with better output would also be very nifty. Uh, just that would help solve things if there's better glassware recipes going forward. Uh, that you can tech into these better methods of making glassware. That would be nice. So, yeah, the just for reference, 41 lines on the main bus right now. 41 lines, and we're going to have stuff on everything, even though some of these are currently empty. Just for reference. For reference. Let's see, where we left off last time, I had built out to here, this mark, and had some Vrock paddocks going, giving us a minimal amount of rocks. I now have like 359 caged Vrock sitting around, and I now also have Vrock cocoons, which are not moving. Why are you not moving? Did you change? Oh, I'm not. Sap. Sap? Saps? Hello, Saps. Ah, right. Latex. I apparently need even more sap to feed into this latex. Okay. Yeah, great way to bottleneck your base and waste resources. The thing about main bus is that I don't have anything to replace it with yet. You should do the main bus until you have a reasonable way of replacing it with something else. So I'm not at green science yet, Marconos. I'm not at green science yet. So I don't have access to rails, and I don't have access to logistic robots yet. Once I have access to both of those things, I will be just flat out ending the main bus. I will terminate. There will be a section at the very end of the main bus where it will all feed into logistic chests at the very end. That's how I handle ending off the main bus. It just will all feed into logistic chests. I'll have an area that will be mall at right immediately afterwards. That'll be mall space. That'll be a bot-based mall fed partly by the bus and partly by trains that will come in later as we upgrade. That is the plan going forward on that front. So this is borax into diborane and into actual borax. I don't currently have a use for the borax, but we're making it on screen, and all I need to do for this uses syngas. Just add syngas, and it will work. And I'm also sending the tailings into a tank that will go into my Nextlit production. So this process makes some amount of tailings, and it will all go up and give me more Nextlit. And then if I'm fully backed up on Nextlit, it will void the excess tailings. Thank you so much for the follow, Scooter Jack. Let's see. So all I need to do here is just hook up the syngas, and this will magically move. Magic. Note what I'm doing here. I am offloading the raw borax into chests. The reason for this, unless it's actually changed very recently, as in very recently, borax outputs 3 units of ore per cycle. And it won't start a new cycle until all 3 units have left the machine. So on a belt speed of 15 per second, that means that there is a delay between each cycle unless you can immediately get rid of that 3 units of ore. So to do that, we offload into a chest instead. And then I'm using loaders to keep things going. And this will give me the full throughput of these machines. That is that. Also water. I Yeah, water. Water is required for this. Yeah, that's right. Water is required for this. Let's. I'm sure there's a lot more places where I will need to add water. Yeah, that seems like a reasonable thing to just copy paste right there. There we go. Move it all and process it all into glorious borax and into glorious diborane. Now the diborane is also being bussed. And it's bussed as diborane. I am going to do the processing into boric acid of diborane where I need the boric acid. Reason for that is 1 unit of diborane is equal to 5 units of boric acid. So it's easier to move all of that around. Reminds you of an underground trick in version 0.15 and earlier. I have not played prior to V17, actually. Well, very minimal in 16, but I've not actually really had much experience prior to 17. I started playing Factorio on the Ides of March of last year. That is when I started. March 15th of 2019. At least that's when I first bought Factorio. Note that I am playing on a different install right now, so none of this playtime is getting tracked by Steam. And I don't have, like, the Steam achievements and all that stuff on the map anymore, because it is a separate install for V18 at the moment. Okay. What else do I need to talk about? Is there anything here? Yeah, so I've done processed iron production. This actually produces more than 15. I think it produces 18 plates per second. But clearly I'm only using up to 15 at the moment. This will require a bit of a bit more work to really do. I will need to compress it in the stacking belt boxes. It would be 2 stacking belt boxes into 1 line, and then I have to have a belt box to unpack it every single time I use the iron down the line. So that's a bit of work in order to actually make the full use of that 18, but clearly I don't actually need that full 18 right now. Let's see. Expansion. I've done expansion. I've got a little bit of seaweed. Just a little bit of seaweed right now. 30 buildings of seaweed right now. A bit more, I think, on the wood production. Definitely more agar right now, and a lot more of the Petri incubation and the microorganism mines. These things are really slow. Just for reference, the microorganism mines are really slow. Oh, the other thing planned on, just speaking of glass, so it's not just that glass is being consumed a lot in the form of glassware. Glass also gets consumed a lot in the form of these empty petri dishes. So it's not just that this uses a lot, it's that you're also needing to use glass for the empty petri dishes too. And a lot of things that use the glassware also use some form of either petri dishes or incubated petri dishes. So yeah, it's just the combined total of the amount of glass that's needed is pretty high. Pretty high between both the empty petri dishes and the glassware. And anything else that might use the glass along the way. I think those are the 2 main contributors towards, or main demanders of the glass at this point in the early game. So, let's see, what else to discuss? I see this is moving, which is nice. Yep, tailings. Looks like I have maybe even more tailings. Yeah, I have more tailings than what I can process, maybe? Nah. We shall see over time. Anyway, I have set the data array. Let's actually start walking down towards the end of the bus here. See if I notice anything that's particularly different going along the way. So we are going to get Auogs today, and we are going to get Ralesia today at minimum. We may also be getting Kickalk today, but I will note that if we get Kickalk today, I will be able to semi-automate green science as well. The reason for that, actually, is... And then also, the production of these Auogs is also technically semi-automated, and we'll get to all of that. The reason for that is I'll have everything set up to make the green science. It's just place an assembling machine to make the green science by the time you get Ralesia, because Ralesia will need the alien sample 1s, and then what we have here to make the Auogs is the lab instruments, uses the lab instruments. So I could handcraft, technically, some green science, but the limiting factor will be right here, lab instruments, because all of this, the whole point of getting the Auogs right now is trying to automate circuits. This is all to automate circuits. All to automate circuits. So it's a little odd, but it does fall within the realm of Pydew mods, within the realm of things that you're forced to have to do in Pydew. So at this point in time, in the current state of Alien life, you need to make lab instruments which require circuits in order to start automating your circuits. There's a few things that are like this, by the way, and this is just the newest addition of stuff that requires you to first make something, in this case through handcrafting, in order to make more of that something. Anyway, new stuff starts here with the production of carbon black. So we need rubber, because we need lab instruments. As I saw, we now need lab instruments. Why do we need lab instruments? We need lab instruments because we need plasmids and retroviruses to make cDNA. cDNA. This cDNA is used to actually make our first... It'll be used to make our first Auog. And it'll be used to make our first Ralesia. Such a beautiful machine. Yes, such beautiful machines here. Such glorious, glorious machines. We have our Gen Lab, which used to be the incubator, or used to have the same graphics as is the incubator. The whole chain, yeah. Such a beautiful chain. All of this to feed into cDNA, which will be used to make our first Auog, our first Ralesia, our first Kickalk, even, and like every other thing that's like first that you need to make. So, Auogs, Mark 1 is, yeah, cDNA right there. If I click on the cDNA, it'll be used. Oh, it's even used for the caravans. Okay. It's used Atom 42, Dynamycin, Anidyne, or Diene, Anidyne. All of this stuff is like upgrades to creatures, but you can see it's used for like all of the subsequent alien life for their first versions. It's used for all of the subsequent stuff, and because it's used for the stuff here that does upgrades, if you ever want to do upgraded production through any of this stuff, that would give you a constant demand for your cDNA. So that means that you'll have to set up something like this anyway. Caravans are in. We'll find out if they're working. Yeah, the caravan is in. We'll find out if it's working. And as far as I can tell, the caravan uses Auogs for its labor. Yeah, Auogs. Auogs for labor. Auogs. If they don't, it's King Arthur's fault. Yeah, this is King Arthur's baby. He's in charge of making those. So I have a few random DNA samples, just for reference. I have a few of these now. I've automated it. It's automated. Why all that? It's automated. It's automated. It's automated. Yeah, it's just, you know, just a few. DNA or sample random. What is your name? Earth generic sample. That is your name. Earth generic. What are these used for? Bioreserve stuff. Caged Vrock. First versions. Oh, and growing from a cocoon. Used for Aug, used for rocks, used for Xenos. Is the stream buffering like crazy for anyone else? Do I not have... Do I not have quality settings? I do have quality settings. Maybe reduce your quality settings. That might be a thing that you might need to do. Okay. So, yeah, I just need cDNA. I've got everything hooked up to give me my first Aug. I just need that cDNA at this point. Also, you know, Vrock exist. I get to now slaughter the Vrock that these two machines are making. Really slowly. Really slowly. For reference. Now I'll need to add saps to keep the cocoons going. And I am actually using filter inserters. Like, of all the logistics stuff, I'm actually... what do they taste like? I mean, I'm sure they're chewy. I'm sure they're chewy. That's how I would explain them. Also, probably very acidic, considering that they've got formic acid. And arthropod blood, so full of vanadium too. Chitin would be crunchy.